Computer. All right.
So
All
the
right.
reason I was late is I was writing it down so I could like reference it on the side. So I've got my so legit promos.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah. So
Do
yeah.
you want? So, would you want to do us the honor and read us the quote for today?
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
you did it last time.
For sure. Oh, it's a long one for sure. Okay, so it says, if you're going to try, go all the way. Otherwise, don't even start. This could mean losing girlfriends, wives, relatives, and maybe even your mind. It could mean not eating for 3 or 4 days. It could mean freezing in a park bench. It could mean jail. It could mean derision. It could mean mockery and isolation. Isolation is the gift. All the others are a test of your endurance, of how much you really want to do it. And you'll do it despite rejection and the worst odds, and it'll be better than anything else you can imagine. If you're going to try, go all the way. There is no other feeling like that. The nights will flame with fire. You will ride life straight to perfect laughter. It's the only good fight there is. Bukowski.
Kowski.
Yeah, man. I mean, to me, right off the bat, I feel like when he's talking about going for it, he's definitely talking about like your dreams, right? Like this that one passion in life that you want more than anything. And right off the top, I think he's just saying like don't half-ass it, right? Like don't just go for it all the way. Otherwise, you'll just regret it. So, and I couldn't agree more, to be honest. And I think that I think what's sad, and I was thinking about this when I first saw this, I think a lot of people never even find out what that thing is. They never even figure out what is worth going for that they even like that much. And then those who do, I think a huge percentage never even try. So I think, yeah, finding your passion first and having the courage to go for it too. Those are I think, two biggest roadblocks for sure. But yeah, I like this one a lot.
I love that you can't. Eric, did you tell him about that quote?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I was just making sure there's yeah, because that quote's it's a solid one. Like it's definitely. I was introduced that through someone that I love, and I don't know. I feel like have you guys seen? There's a video of that quote that someone did. I don't know who it is, but it's really lovely. Like whoever did it, it's just a beautiful reading, but also the videography and the scenes that they show in it. It's just I don't know if I can find it. I'm gonna send it to you guys and see because it's really cool. But it's just it's. I feel like it's such a classic idea. I do think sometimes Bukowski simplifies things, but I also feel like there's something really beautiful about that simplification and making it I don't know that the way he breaks things down. Obviously, there's a lot of beauty in that, and yeah, I feel like there's so many people. It reminds me of that Yoda quote too, of do or do not. There is no try.
Yep.
It's just
You
I
either
don't know.
go or you're not, right? There's no in between. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Or
Well,
do you guys watch Parks and Rec at all?
I love
yeah.
Parks and Rec.
Oh, Ron Swanson has a quote where he goes, "You should never half-ass two things. You should full-ass one thing." I don't know what episode that was, but that's what it reminds. I think it's because Leslie's burning herself at both ends, like she does, and he's like, "You should full-ass one thing," and she's like, "You're right." And I think that's kind of basically, Ron Swanson, they're on the same level, I think. But yeah,
Yeah. They're both alcoholics.
nah, Ron can hold his own, man.
He can. He can.
He has a problem though. He just, he just loves a good scotch. But
I feel like that's fair. Bukowski, seems like he's a really fantastic poet, but I don't know if he can hold it together the same way Ron Swanson can.
I mean, he fully owns it though. He's like, okay, yeah, I have a problem. I mean, it's not a problem. I just, I have a addiction, but I fully own it, so it's more acceptable for sure. But yeah, I think I don't know. I think the part I love the most, it says, "You will ride life straight to perfect laughter," and I think that for me, I think there's a certain laugh that you have in your belly when you find something completely funny and true, and it rings true in your soul, kind of. And I think that's kind of what they're getting at. It's not oh, that's amusing or that's entertaining. It's this is real and it speaks to me in a way. And I think that's kind of if you're chasing something that really means something to you, then that kind of comes out, I think, for sure. But I think, Eric, more than anything, I was thinking about you, is that this
Oh, really?
COVID, dude, has kind of given you a chance to full ass this dream of becoming like, I don't know, like a writer and, a podcaster, because, it removed all the other distractions, and now you get to go full in on all these things that, you always talked about doing and were kind of doing, but like now it's like,
now there's like no distractions. I have to do it.
Yeah. Is this scary? Or is it like cool?
Is it scary? Yeah, very scary, because as we talked about last time in the last episode, hopefully I can release soon if you ever watch it. We're fucking creative writing majors. That shit is scary, man. I know there's a lot of job opportunities for people with the English degree or just in humanities in general, but those jobs don't really make a lot of money. It's unless you get a nice tech corporate job, working editing or copywriting. But other than that, it's just kind of like you're either the next Harry Potter or you just kind of like be a bartender for a while.
It's not like a safety net. Like if you get like a degree in engineering, you're like, oh, I'm going to be an engineer and I can go do that anywhere. With this, you have to like make it. You have to put on the effort on your own. Not to say that engineering doesn't take effort, but like you can't fall back on that by itself, which is kind of cool though, I think though. Cause like if you make it, it means you really put it out there and went for it, So, but yeah, you've been producing a lot lately, haven't you?
Yeah, a little bit here and there. I mean, I haven't written in a while, but it is a work in progress. This is what I'm doing now, I guess. Like, I get to con all my friends whenever you guys can.
I like it though. Like you get to discuss ideas with people, which is not something you get to do a lot. Like I feel like at work, a lot of what you talk about is like logistics. You're like, I need these people at this time to do this thing, and if they don't, what are we gonna do? Whereas now it's like, oh, what are you passionate about? Speaking of, did you end up watching Laura, I don't know if have you seen the movie Soul?
Oh no, I did not watch it. I
want to.
Ran out of time.
You should. It's pretty great. And one of like the core themes is like, what is your spark? Like, what is it in life that like ignites your flame, kind of like he's talking about? And I think it kind of like is a perfect time what this whole thing's about. I don't want to give too much away, but it's great.
Wait, is it on Netflix? I think Disney Plus. That's what
I was just gonna say. It's like a Disney one. They have their own streaming site now. Damn it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
I'll get my hands on it actually. Actually, I have some friends that borrow my Hulu account, so they're gonna now
trade us.
Now they're in debt to me. But yeah, I mean it's just been a process. It's been a journey. Hopefully it leads somewhere. But going back to the quote we were talking about, try and go at 100% or not, and it's true. When I was living in San Francisco, I was working those two jobs, and I felt like I was just getting burnt out. And I've always wanted to work in something with creative or something with arts, but I was always like, one toe in, 1 foot out. So, but now obviously with coronavirus, I have no more excuses. And I don't have a job, so I have all the time to be a writer.
But that's not I think what he's saying here is that's not a bad thing, right?
Yeah, no, it's not a bad thing, and like I think about that part where we talk about the where is it? Your ride life straight to perfect laughter, and it always comes down to like that quote or the variation of that fucking quote that I hear all the time about the journey, how it's always the journey and not the destination.
Yeah.
And the friends that we make along the way,
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think too, if you pursue your passions, you'll meet other people who are also doing something similar, and like you'll find your tribe that way, right? As opposed to like just, I don't know. I think about a lot of like people who didn't put in effort, like in high school, they kind of like, did the bare minimum, and after they did the bare minimum, and then they're kind of now they're wherever life put them. They didn't get to make choices, right? But if you work at something, now you have options. Now you're like, oh, I have this experience. I get to choose what company I work at. I get to make my own company, right?
Mm.
I have the money to build my own business or something like that. So it's like you kind of pay for it in the end. All those years of trying to get barely by, or just like, you know, in the end you end up working twice as hard. So it all, I don't know, you kind of get what you put into it, really.
Yeah, I mean, you have to work at it. Like, I was thinking about this quote from this VTuber. What a VTuber is, a virtual reality tuber where somebody will talk through an avatar, usually like a cute anime girl. It is usually girls, and I've never seen a male VTuber, but so VTubing is
Okay.
Why are you laughing, dude? This is a real thing.
I was like,
Why are you laughing, bro? Why are you laughing?
I think you just only watch the female ones, but that's something else. So,
I'm sure they're like male ones, but I haven't seen any, nor have I seeked them out. I'm gonna put in the
that
clip.
you know of, Eric. Yeah. Like they might all be dudes, just like using some kind of voice.
I mean, these are some pretty sexy dudes, right?
True.
But okay, I'm gonna put in that clip where you talk hella shit about anime in the last podcast.
Okay.
But what were we talking about? So there's this famous VTuber. I think she was on the show Trash Taste that I watched, but it came up in a different thing where people asked her for advice about VTubing, and essentially she said that if you really want to make it in this industry, you have to create content. You can't just talk about it. You can't just be a profile on Twitter, because there's a lot of VTubers who are just on Twitter and doing tweets, and they don't make content themselves. So they just respond to other VTubers. And she says that if you really want to make it in this industry, you have to produce some sort of content. You have to like stream. You can't just be just like a voice sample and a face. Even if you don't live stream, you have to create some sort of video, some sort of entertainment, so you can't get picked up. And what I got from it is like, you know, you can't just wish for it and hope for it to happen. Like, what was the thing we were talking about at the end of the video? Was like something pursuit of happiness, or
oh, you're talking about the rule. Do you guys know the rule?
You brought this up, Daniel, last video. It was the
It's the rule. It's the you put it out there and it comes to you. Why can't I think of the name?
Oh, okay. Like karma, kind of, or like
no, there's like there's damn it.
Are we quoting like The Secret? Is that where it goes?
The Secret?
From?
Yeah. What's the secret? Like,
get out what you put in. Yeah.
Yeah. So you can't just like hope for it to happen. You have to put in the elbow work or the elbow grease, and it's
law of attraction.
Law of attraction. Yes.
Okay.
How the hell did we forget it?
We got there.
Right. I didn't even have to use my phone, and I have like 2 screens right now. But
that's it.
Yeah, you can't just rely on law of attraction for it to happen, unless you're like a really pretty avatar and somebody finds you and picks you up. Like,
no, because law of attraction is that like it finds you, like, and you don't have to do anything. I think the law of attraction is that you pursue it, and through that pursuit, it eventually comes, right?
Give and take, yeah.
Yeah, you don't just completely think it into existence.
It's like literally what both you guys were talking about, but if you like combine them, it's not just like you think it, and it's manifestation, man. And like manifestation is half like putting it out there like mentally, but it's also like how when you're thinking about it's there's a quote. I don't know the exact words, but the gist is basically like you watch your thoughts because those become your like words. You watch your words because those become your actions. You watch your actions because that becomes your habits, and you watch your habits because that becomes your character. And like it's like kind of that like rule.
Yeah.
Like you put it out there, but also like it's like you're kind of wanting it, but it's also like you're also doing it, and that's why it comes to you, kind of thing. And it's like a give and take of like the universe is your friend, whether we realize it or not. It's also can be your enemy, but it depends on what you're doing with the universe. Because sometimes we're the universe's like friend or enemy, like, you know?
Yeah, no, I think so. So you get what you put out for sure. I mean, yeah, but you have to have the right mindset to even think it's possible, right? So I think I've seen a lot of people have like all the talent in the world, and they just like they didn't believe in it, right? They didn't believe that they could, or someone told them they couldn't, and like kind of Bukowski is saying that you'll face all this derision and isolation. And if you can't handle that, then you may never push through when you needed to, right? Even if it was you were close or something, you know. That's like,
Yeah.
what is it, like, many great artists never put anything out there, right? They had all the talent and the capability, but they were too afraid of the journey, you know, or whatever.
Yeah, it was like I think I told both of you guys this in 2 separate occasions about how all the talent in the world and you don't create anything, you're pretty much the same thing as being talentless in the first place, you know, because you're not generating any kind of content.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like this. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I feel like for me, like this quote was such a big. Okay, so like Daniel, I've already talked to Eric about this. Like the reason why like I knew about this quote is so I was a communications major. I was like a returning student, so I did school later, and I like just graduated. But I was dating for a long time this literature major, and he's a really talented artist, a really talented writer. So much like talent and potential, and he's all into this. And he was just a Bukowski fan in the general, and like all the beatniks really. And like I have a lot, like as a woman, I have a love-hate relationship with Bukowski. Like the romantic, the like poet in me, super into it. The person who has dealt with like alcoholics and like, you know, womenizers and all that jazz, like not as into like the glorification of that stuff. Like I think there's a balance. I don't think you have to be the Hemingway, smoke a cigarette, kill a man, drink a bottle of whiskey to sit at a typewriter and type something golden. I mean, you can, that's fucking awesome, but like you can also do that in like, you could also be like a yoga meditation, like tea kind of dude and probably do the same, or woman or whoever, like anything in between and still do the same thing. And like, but that quote, like, he and I always talked about it as like, we called it going to the moon, and like just whatever that means to you of like succeeding and doing your thing and following your passion and finding your perfect laughter. And like when he showed me that quote, it was one random night and he said something about like, you want to hear something beautiful? And I was like, yeah. And so he like, you know, broke it out and it stuck with me. And when we did break up, I remember talking about this and like bringing this quote up and like, you know, you are meant to like, you know, it's like that thing of like, sometimes you have to lose certain things. And like, I think that you can have a really great, healthy partnership and go that way together. But like, sometimes you got to work on yourself and you got to work on your stuff and you have to focus on that. And like, the only thing that I disagree with about this quote is like, I am definitely the jack of all trades type. And like, I don't think you have to do everything fully. I think that what that means can be different to each person. Like, I don't think you have to be a millionaire to be successful. I think you can like make $1 on something and be pretty freaking proud and like stoked. And like, I think whatever that version means to you. So like, yes, I think that like really diving in and committing to it is what's important. But like, yeah, the going all the way is so interesting to me because I feel like you can go all the way and not finish the race, if that makes sense. Like, I feel like that it varies. Like, I am really appreciative of my time dabbling because I've gotten to like taste a little bit of a lot of things, and like that's like helped me be more of a well-rounded person. Like, I'm sure I still have so much to be like a well-rounded person really, but like I don't know, I just think that it's so interesting that, you know, we all have our different version of what that means. And I like I don't know, I want to encourage people to go all the way and commit, and I also want to like, I don't think that my version of all the way is going to be the same as each of your version of all the way, you know, like it just
yeah I think so. You get to like define what that success is for yourself, right? And I think a lot of people that I meet, it's kind of, especially where I'm working, I feel like they've let other people define what it is for them, right? Whether it could be their parents, whether it could just be like everyone telling you, like, if you have money, you made it. And I'm like, not necessarily, you know? So I think that's so cool that you could dabble in different things to define what it is you want, define what your moon is, right? Wherever that is. And then go all in on that, right? But first you got to find it, right? And I think by trying thing, like, I think too, like they're talking about like when people go to college, right? There's all those GE courses you have to take, and people are like, oh, why do you need that? And I always thought that I liked that. I took classes and things I never would have took if I had just stuck to like the things that class I needed for my major, you know, like, but I think it made me a more well-rounded person. Like I got to learn other things, and you know, I'm sure maybe they changed their majors because they tried a class and like, oh, this was awesome. And I think especially when you're like in your 20s, like how could you possibly know? I mean, maybe some people know from the beginning. I know some people who are like from the moment I was born, I wanted to be a dancer. I'm like, dude, that's awesome. Like, good for you. Shit, you know, but other people, it took long. For me, it took way longer. Like, I had no idea. So,
but you graduated in like 4 years, right?
I did. I changed majors once, graduated 4 years. Eric took the
I took the 6-year route. I just love my degree so much. It took 6 years to get a BA. And do you regret it? No, because it was all financial aid, so it's chill.
Yeah. But Eric, I feel like your entire like sorry Asian parents is exactly this, right? It's like saying sorry parents. The success as you've defined it for me is not what I define it. And so you're like tongue in cheek apologizing, but not, I hope not really, but like saying, pursue something else, which with Asian parents is a whole other thing.
Oh man, trying to pick, like, so I didn't pick a major until junior year of college. So what, I was almost 21 around that time. So it took me until 21 to pick a major, right? And I chose, I think I was bouncing around for a while. I think I did science, and then I switched over to kinesiology, and then I switched over to creative writing because I always thought about entertaining people. But I did kinesiology before creative writing because I always envisioned myself helping people out or just trying to, you know, reduce all the fatties in the world. I don't know. I used to be a fat kid somewhere. So I finally picked the major, right? And then I didn't tell my parents about it until junior year when I was like, hey, you know, I picked the major. I chose English. And they're like, what the fuck? Why did we send you to college? And I was like, well, you know, like, I like books a lot. So I picked English. And they were like, oh, what kind of career would you pick out? I told them teacher, which was a lie, because if I wanted to be a teacher, I would have done the teaching credentials program freshman year when I was like legit standing in front of the fucking student center right next to the dorms. You know what I'm talking about, Daniel?
I do.
Yeah. You know, I was right there with a paper in my hand to enter the teaching credentials. I love teachers. I have nothing against teachers. It's just knowing my personality. There was no way I was going to become a person in charge of kids after some of the things I've said and did online. So I was like, probably not going to be a teacher. So I chose out not to do that. But I knew I wanted to do something within a creative avenue. You know? So I chose that. And they were not happy. Even my senior year, they told me, do you still you should probably become a doctor after this, graduate and go to school. Because you technically can enter a doctorate program. You just got to take the prereqs to it after being an English major and stuff. So yeah, it was kind of hard to tell them about, hey, this is my dream, this is what I do. And then finally I was like, hey, you know what? I'm not going to become a teacher. I want to become a writer. And they were like, what the fuck is a writer? They were like, oh, for newspapers? Like, yeah, sure, for newspapers. And then slowly after a while, I don't know if they kind of gave up, but then it just became easier, and I graduated, and they couldn't do anything at that point. It was too late. 6 years has gone by, and then they had to face the facts that I was a creative writing major. Funny thing is too, like, I was also in the fraternity for 6 years of 6 years of my college years. It's solid 6 years. Oh yeah, you know. And the first 2 years, I couldn't afford it. Actually, the first year I couldn't afford it because I didn't work. So I told my parents that this fraternity was a club for future teachers of America. And then they paid my dues.
Like a year.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. I told them Pi Kappa Phi was a future teachers of America. And then they bought it until I got a job and didn't have to tell them shit anymore.
I mean, it's hard, especially because your parents are technically like was first generation, right?
Mm-hmm. Immigrants, yeah. Yeah, it's like, different.
I don't know if we're saying names or not, but you remember Jared, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Jared's parents straight up told him, you're going to be a doctor, and if you are not, we're not paying for your school. Like, straight up. Like, you have two options. You can pay for it yourself and then do whatever you want, but if we're paying for it, or even part of it, you're going to be like a bio major. You're going to take all the pre-med recs, and you're going to be a doctor. Like he had no, like for him, this choice was made kind of, and it worked out, you know, he is a very successful doctor now, but
yeah, dude, traditional careers or traditional majors do generate a lot of revenue. Like, for the writers, technical professional writing, that is the best major for people to go through to generate revenue straight out of college. But
technical writing, I don't know that much about it, but you're writing like manuals and instruction booklets. Is that what I don't really know? What, is that?
You ever been to IKEA?
Yeah.
You're writing IKEA. You're Swedish at that point.
See, that's not going all in. Like Bukowski's saying, like, go for it. If you want to be a write creative things, do that. But don't like write how to build an ottoman and think you know what I mean? Like, pay the bills. Don't get me wrong. You know, pay your bills, but like, go all in. You know, write that book they want.
You know, I always think it's interesting because, like, you know, Daniel, you're half Asian, so you're kind of almost there.
Yeah.
And your dad is a second generation Japanese?
Yes.
So
right.
Yeah, and your mom's Hispanic, also American, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
she's Asian as well, yeah.
Yeah. So like, even though you look like the stereotype, but with a tan,
okay.
you and I, we both have two different kind of like our parents had two different kind of mentalities when it came to our majors. My parents were, you know, I would say, you know, they were not down for an English major, for the first son to go to American college to be an English major, and your parents were chill with it, right?
Yeah, they were like, pursue your dreams, whatever it is. You tell us and we'll help you make it happen. So support was great. No question about it. I think because for them, it wasn't even an option. Like when they were growing up, they were so poor that even going to college at all was like an accomplishment. You know, what you majored in at that point was almost like, it's your choice, but just get there, get the degree at least. And so, yeah.
Hey man, it worked out for you. You're working for a major tech company, and you have a house, which is pretty nice.
You know.
And abs. Don't forget about your abs. Don't let that slip you by, bro. I've seen it.
You know what? Chubby over quarantine, or not even like, yeah, everything shut down and starting to rain. So.
Damn, are you sure? Because your jawline almost cut my screen here, man. It's too sharp.
You know.
But
meal prepping helps for sure.
Meal prepping helps, but
Eric, all your bromances, like every conversation I have with you with like other people in it, you're just hitting on some dude.
That's pretty standard.
It's pretty standard.
So are you telling me that there's others? Is he cheating on me? Is that what's happening?
Hey man, as long as you don't
They came before you, so if anything, he's cheating on them with you.
As long as you don't cross eyes during a devil's tango, it's okay.
That's the song beside you. But
yeah, what we're talking about, something. Oh yeah, so it was hard for me to really go all in when I felt like I didn't really have the support that I needed. And growing up in Visalia, it was a totally different environment. The most famous quote that I remember my friends telling me was, "Reading is for losers." He didn't use the word losers, but it was something else. It was like, I remember that so vividly, like being at a young age, because, you know, we grew up in a kind of like a, you know, really masculine area. My group was pretty like, we don't read, reading's for losers. We drink, we party, we try to get manly jobs, and education and literature was not part of it. Like I didn't actually even start reading until, freshman year of college for fun. You know, everything I had to read was always school. School was the only reason why I read, unless it's like Zanga posts or MySpace posts.
I'm curious. So, because Laura, you're from there too, right? You guys graduated like the same year?
Yeah, we're the same age.
Okay. Do you guys have the same experience with that? Or is that like an Eric and his friends thing? Or was it kind of all of Visalia kind of like that way?
Well, was a weird one. Like I think to be fair, I think there's a lot of privilege in some of my experience. Like I was definitely in my own nerdy bubble. I feel like I was just such a dork. And then when I was in like junior high, I think Eric, we were both Green Acres kids, right?
Yeah, Green Acres.
Yeah, we went to the same junior high too. And like and so like our schools, like where we were at in the city, it was a really interesting mix. We definitely went to the older schools. So like we were on the north side of town, and it was really like an interesting mix class wise, like for sure a lot of variety. And like I didn't realize how unique some of our experiences was. Like I'm really grateful for like the mix that we did have, because like in my mind I thought everyone had this kind of mix of like different races and different classes and different like groups all together. And I later realized that that was not the case, but it was not until I got a little older and started realizing that other schools did not have the same variety. Yeah, like it, I don't know, like my mom, like, so my parents were divorced when I was younger, and we didn't have a lot of money growing up, and like my mom, but at the same time we never wanted for anything. Like they really really did do, like, I'm very appreciative of like my upbringing, but my mom had this theory that like if we were too busy we couldn't get into trouble, which didn't technically ring true for like my brother. He always made time, but like I was enough of a nerd that I just like, I don't know, I was like a 4-H'er, and I did like cheer and dance and band geeking and like just all these like little like stupid things. So like I eventually like went to parties and stuff, and I like had some fun and got into some trouble, but like I feel like even with my closest friends they were always like surprised when I was there. Like so it was a mix. But like the reading thing's really interesting because like my dad growing up, like my mom started us young, and she got us into she read us like Lord of the Flies and all these like random books and Animal House and all these weird ones when we were really young. And so like I got exposed to stuff younger, but then my dad really tried to force reading on us, and he kept trying to force like these books that we weren't into, and like, you know, it kind of like made it this chore, and you already had it for school. And I had some like honor, I like tried not to take certain classes, just it was just a very intense thing. And so there was a while where I definitely did not like reading, and it wasn't until I got like in my teen years or whatever and I started like discovering it on my own and realizing like, oh, I can read other things that like, you know, I'm into. And like that was totally a game changer. And then same with like finding that balance of like the nerdy stuff and the fun trouble stuff, and like getting into like a little trouble is good and a little bit of nerd stuff is good, but like too into either side, you know. Like I feel like for me my entire life has just been trying to find a balance of like whatever that is, so many different things, but like just trying to find that balance, because like it's so easy to get sucked into the stuff that like is too much trouble and becomes unhealthy for you, or it's too much like too like not enough trouble, and then you become like, you know, that what's that stupid saying from one of those like kid books, like whatever like makes, what is it, something like too much of something makes somebody a dull boy, like I don't know, whatever. It's just you know,
something with Jack or something, like too much.
Yeah,
Yeah, Jack makes dull boy.
Too much work and not enough play makes like Jackie a dull.
Makes Jack a dull boy. Yeah.
Yes, I feel like I stand by that. Like I feel like it's a balance, you know. Like I don't think, and I think it's hard. I feel for like I don't have kids, and like I feel for parents so much. Like where Eric and I grew up, a lot of people have kids, and like I love kids, but like having them is a whole nother level, and being the person who's responsible for like everything and trying to find that balance of letting them explore on their own and not like sheltering them and not like stopping them or like trying to control them, and at the same time also like protecting them from like the craziness that is the world. Like, you know, it's hard. And like, I mean, growing up as a girl, like I was telling my family, like the first time a grown man tried to get me to get in his car, I was like 12 years old, you know. Like it was just, and that's just one example. There's a lot of creepers in the world that get much worse, but like at the same time, when they try to shelter and you tell you can't do anything, that one makes you want to do it more, and two, like doesn't really prepare you how to find that balance. And I feel like I think that's one of the reasons it took me so long for college was just when I first went out in the world, like I did not know what to do with myself. I was just like free at last. And it just
want to get the fuck out of Visalia, man.
Yeah, and Visalia is just such a, and I try to explain Visalia in between like the gangsters and the cowboys and the like chaos and like I'm at my mom's house at the moment and like there's cows out there. Like it's, it's a little bit of everything here, but it's just, yeah. And like I grew up right down the street from Green Acres Middle School, which wasn't like in the best part of town, but like it also wasn't the worst. Like I don't know. It was like there was definitely there are a few moments that are really sketchy. I'll tell some stories about like almost getting shot or weird things where people are like, "What are you talking about?" And I'm just like, "Well, I don't know. It was our hometown."
It's Visalia, Like actually, I tell Daniel a lot of stories about Visalia, and he doesn't believe me.
Right? Well, yeah, and you guys both went to San Francisco State too.
Yeah, we met each other junior year. Officially.
Eric's like fourth junior year, but yeah.
Yeah, my fourth junior year. But we're the same age. We all graduated in 07.
Yeah,
okay, yeah. And I went to San Francisco State this last time, and I lived there for like getting close to 5 years. It was like over 4.5-ish, and like I don't know, like I love that area, but when I try to explain the valley to them,
we were a bunch of ratchet kids. We ratcheted it up. It was just like a lot of different environmental factors, I think, and cultural factors too. My parents, immigrant Asians, they wanted you to to choose a career where it is viewed as hardworking, elbow grease, blood, sweat, tears. So when you tell them, hey, I want to choose a career that involves reading, or a career that involves the arts, they're like, what the fuck is the arts? Like Thailand, Laos, it's a different area, and growing up in those kind of communities too, a lot of people either become doctors, lawyers, policemen, or gangsters. These are your career choices, or dead. I don't know, pick one of those. Or you work in a restaurant. So
yeah,
and that was my childhood growing up. My parents wanted us to work or become a doctor. It was like child labor or a doctor. So it was one of that. And then also growing up, hanging out with kids from my neighborhood or just like childhood friends in general, we're all like immigrant kids, skateboarding. None of us read. Anytime we had free time, we would skateboard. I would paddle along because I was 230 pounds and did not skateboard.
And you're so funny. I feel like you describe yourself like so great. I feel like I like remember you, and I don't remember like I don't know the way you describe it. I feel like sounds like different like than
I'll put the pictures up. You will see the pictures.
You're I don't know. I feel like we all judge ourselves more than like other people.
But like we partied. Like I think we started drinking at like was it 7th grade. I started hanging out with the Asians, which when I say the Asians, they're just what they call our group. We're not all Asians because we have different, like, had Mexicans and white people there too. But we drank. We started drinking. And then obviously some of us started doing sports later on. So when you have sports and partying all the time, which, I did party all the time, was my fault. There was no time for reading, and if your parents aren't trying to get you to read, that isn't an academic material for school or for like math or anything like that, like why would I want to read a book? It wasn't until I started being more involved with Mr. Kane's class or Miss Link's class or Mrs. Adams. These are the 3 teachers that kind of changed my view on art and stuff, and it just introduced me to a whole new world. Like I think I've always had a big imagination, which stems from playing a lot of video games, and when your parents are working all the time and you have nothing else to do, your imagination is your only friend. Without an imagination, I probably would have started doing heroin. I don't know. Well, maybe not heroin. I was kidding around meth. That was all around this.
We always do. My brother and I have jokes like that of like, we're such good kids. Like we don't even know where to get meth, and I'm like, don't we though? Like,
well, there's
like high standards.
I know a guy who knows a guy who could get it.
Yeah. So then graduating with that kind of mentality, we're like, hey, I'm too cool for school. I only went to college because I wanted to get the fuck out of Visalia. And in my head, I thought I was going to pick a fucking, and that's why I went into a bio first, because I thought that I was going to get into science, like how my parents wanted to.
Safe.
Yeah, it was a safe major that was pleasing to every party. And eventually, when I started going down the creative writing path, for the English major, that was when like, all right, maybe I should start putting in more than just a toe and start going in 100%. But I still didn't go 100% because I was telling this to Daniel, I think in the off call, about how it was a little intimidating to really expose yourself in these classes because I felt intimidated by how much knowledge these other kids who started reading at an earlier age than I did. And that made me more, that made me put more walls up because I was intimidated by their knowledge, and I just felt insecure, and I felt.
Well, Eric, you're also being kind of hard on yourself. It's worth mentioning that English was not your first language.
Definitely not.
So, like, you know what I mean? Like, to come from that to like what you're doing now is pretty remarkable. You know what I mean? So, you know, don't be too hard on yourself either.
But
right?
I mean, but I was
Oh.
really good with English though. English was definitely my first language.
You gotta have that mix.
Yeah. But like I was saying, it was kind of hard for me to go 100% in because, you know, like I had these cultural factors growing up and I felt intimidated and I didn't want to risk looking like a dumbass with my opinions in these classes, which made things even harder. Like I was telling Daniel about how I wanted to piss off a bunch of kids in my class. So I said my favorite actor is Seann William Scott.
Oh my God.
Which is still true. I still love Seann William Scott. And, you know, half of me said it just to piss people off. And the other half, what?
Lord, do you know who Seann William Scott is? The
actor? Like, yeah, I think so. But now I'm going to Google him just to make sure. Why? Is there a different Seann William Scott? Like, I'm kind of out of the loop sometimes.
It's Stifler.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Eric's favorite actor.
I know. Well, we've talked a lot about American Pie.
Dude,
I'm not saying it's not a great movie, but like when he told me that, and he does the thing, I was like, Eric, it's only ironic if you're joking. Like he's for real his favorite. I'm like Daniel Day-Lewis, you know, Robert De Niro, nothing. No, Seann William Scott.
I don't know. I feel like more about, okay, like I have like some like guilty pleasure ones where I know they're not cool, but I love them deeply. And like, I kind of fucking love it when people like are willing to admit the like random things that they're into and the random people they're into. And I think like that's one of the things that like I love nerding out with Eric the most because like Eric, like you threw the best parties in high school. Like I was never brave enough to throw a party or do anything like that. Like, I don't know, I feel like we're all hardest on ourselves, of course, but like, I feel like you're very hard on yourself because like, I don't know. I think that how a lot of people see you is not, I don't know. I think you're a little badass and I feel like you may not recognize that, but I feel like there's a lot more people who do. And like, I love that you're like willing to say that in front of like people, like, especially when it's something academic, like English, where they're all like,
yeah, but also I was in really good shape and I wanted to be a dick and I wanted to just be like, because like people were saying like Audrey where's Audrey Harper?
I don't know who that is. Oh, Harper, Audrey Hepburn?
Audrey Hepburn. See, I don't know who the fuck that is. Or
what?
I mean, I know who
Eric,
it is.
On our movie nights, I'm busting out the classics. Okay?
I know who she is now, but back then I knew who she was too, but I just didn't care. I just put up these fucking walls where like, you know what? I don't care. I'm too cool for this.
But there was this mentality in those classes where like you were not really supposed to like anything that was popular. Oh
yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I just wanted to go fucking fisted my way in there, dude. I was like, fuck it. But
that's brave in those cases though. Like so many people like will pretend to like something they don't just to sound like smarter or like better or whatever. Like I love people who are like down to own whatever version that is that they like love and are like, this is it, deal with it. I think that's pretty like badass.
Yeah, but going back to what fucking Charles was saying in that quote, like,
you show some Seann William
Scott. Seann William Scott, bro, I love him. If you ever see this video,
I was trying to think of another movie he'd even been in.
Goons.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Goon 1, Goon 2, Ice Age.
There's a Goon 2?
There's a Goon 2, yeah, it's on Netflix.
Oh,
or Hulu. He was in Ice Age. He was in Employee of the Month, which is really good. He was in.
Is he really? With Dane Cook?
No. Sorry, I think it's called something else, but it's the same premise where he's trying to get a job, being Employee of the Month. And then there was this one where like a super dark one.
Standing Tall. No, is that what's
Standing
called?
Tall. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
He was also in this other movie where it talked about him trying to commit suicide or something, which is really good. It was a really good dark comedy. I think he's a good actor. He's in a couple like thriller movies, which I haven't seen yet because I'm not a big fan of thriller movies. But I think he studied.
Isn't he in not stepbrother? What's
Role Models?
Role Models.
He's in Role Models. Yes.
He's funny.
Yeah. It's just like it had like it's kind of like a lot of these outside factors that made it hard for me to really go 100%. Going full circle after that tangent that we are just talking about, but
and I also pro trolling hipsters at all times. So please.
Man, dude, trolling hipsters. I don't know. I was definitely immature. I should not have done that, and I definitely took in my education more seriously.
You didn't say it just to piss them off. You kind of knew how they would react, but that's honestly felt. Which is what you're supposed to do, right? If anything, the ones who are pretending to like, I don't know, to read books that they, Infinite Jest, and like, they never read it. It's like, yeah, because you don't like David Foster Wallace. You just want to sound cool. They're the ones who are being inauthentic. You're being authentic. You just authentically have bad taste. And that's honest because you own it.
Yeah, but I do agree with like the authenticity being way more valuable than like being cool. Like I feel like I'm not against like there are some things that are cool for a reason. Like don't get me wrong, I don't want to hate on that stuff, but like yeah, I do. There's so many, or like right now with have you seen that online? How there's so many people who keep comparing like the political situation to like 1980, all these like old like sci-fi movies and like all the dystopian futures, and yet like a lot of these people haven't actually read these books, and so then they're like, oh, it's Orwellian, and then like but they actually don't really know what that means, and it's like, oh well, I haven't read the book, but like it sounds like that, and it's like, I don't know, it's one thing to say that and mean it and like be able to like reference stuff, but like to just know the reference and not really why it's important or what that matters, and like not really connect the two fully other than just like, oh, this is bad and this is bad, so same thing. Like, I mean, I feel like that's way cooler. Like, I would way rather hear someone in one of my classes go off on their like nerding out on something weird versus like nerding out on something cool and not actually having like any follow-up information,
Yeah, just like what we were talking about last video about identity and like who you are as a person, and like I guess to tie those two videos together, like if you don't really know who you are, can you really go 100%? Can you really dive in?
Great question.
Like, do you have to know who you are for you to start your own journey?
I think they're related, right? Like I know a lot of people who are pursuing someone else's dream, 100%. They've never questioned it. They're studying something they hate. They're working a job they hate because they were told by someone at some point that it was important. And, on the outside, they look successful. Maybe they hate what they do, So I think to know what really matters to them is, and I mean, not completely, can we ever completely like know ourselves? That's like a philosophical question, but I think you have to at least be honest about what you care about, what like sparks your fire, and then knowing it and having the courage to follow it are two different things, but hopefully you have both, right? But yeah, I don't know. To circle back to what you were saying about being online, I think online, when it comes to identity, you can kind of be anything you want. So a lot of people are constantly shaping that. Like I've gotten into arguments, spirited debates online with people about articles where they didn't read the article. They read the title, the rest, and then they filled in the blank. And I'm like, well, what about this part? They're like, well, I didn't read it. And I was like, well, then what are we even doing? I was like, okay.
Did you read the source material for this class?
They posted. That's the worst part. They're like posting that. I'm like, I disagree with this paragraph. They're like, well, I didn't get that far. I was like, well, it's the second paragraph. So you didn't read it, you know? So, but yeah, I guess online you get to kind of perfectly curate the version of yourself you want to put out. And I don't know, there's good and bad to that, I guess. Cause maybe some people are afraid to be authentic. Rightfully so, right?
Dude, I took this like really nerdy class. It's a communications class, so it's like not. It was called Emerging in Social Media, and it wasn't like about like how to. It was just like this breakdown. Like it was just the communications nerd, and so it's this breakdown. It was really interesting. Like the only thing that surprised me really was it was so I've never done the whole online dating or like dating app things. I know about them because I've like drunkenly played with my friends' phones and stuff, but that's like as far as I've ever gotten, and it's literally just been in swiping things, and I don't know anything about it. But the only thing that surprised me on there, and like, because everything, like you're saying, is so curated. I'm sorry, I can't like pronounce things sometimes. Curated, but I feel like there's these moments, like for the most part, I feel like things are so filtered online, and they're so very carefully chosen. They're so like, organized in such a way, but when it came to like online dating, there was this thing about people. I don't know if it was just apps or if it was just websites or if there was a difference, but it was about people finding each other. And because they were like so serious and so detailed and whatever, that it was like they had higher chances of like successful relationships and marriages, or like faster marriages and stuff, because of how they like had like, had all this information on each other, which I thought was really interesting, because I like think that like the catfishing concept is really interesting, and I do think that it's way easier to be inauthentic online versus being like authentic. I think that like social media is such a great tool, but also like it can be manipulated easier than like in-person stuff, because like especially if you're like around someone all the time or living with someone, like you see so many different sides and such like a full like, I don't know, array of emotions and different like versions of them. And like even myself, like I know, like I feel like I try to be genuine and I don't try to like hide or be different, but I definitely have my moments of like, there's a certain way I am around certain people, or there's a certain activities I only do with certain people. And like, it's interesting that like online we have like the option of like organizing it and changing it and manipulating it whatever way we want. And that in like some ways could be good, and we could be putting our genuine selves out, and we could be like finding that person and that soulmate and like have that information much faster than we would in person. Or like we could be just like thinking like of what someone, like the idea of what someone wants, or like projecting, like our idea of ourselves, because maybe we don't always know ourselves and we just have this idea of who we are. And like, I don't know, it's just really interesting to like nerd out on and see like and hear these different like studies being done and like the perspective of different people on it. Because like, I don't know, like even people I know who are on these things don't necessarily know that, because they only have their own experiences with it. And I feel like most of them are hit and miss. So it's, I don't know, I like nerding out on that.
I don't know, do you think people are trying to sell themselves or trying to advertise themselves as a lifestyle? Like you're trying to date a lifestyle and not particularly themselves?
That's interesting.
Like you can see the difference. Like when you're on Bumble, it's more of a professional life, and if you're on Hinge is a bit more casual. If you're on Tinder, you're just trying to fuck.
I think each app does have like a reputation for sure.
Yeah, but like if you look, I'm a single man. I fucking swipe all the time. But if you look on these apps, like a lot of the times it does look like you're selling a lifestyle. You do get a lot of genuine posts here and there, but the majority of them, you're trying to say, hey, this is. I'm not saying this is not who they are, but this is the best. This is like the best version of themselves.
Yeah, find a good picture. But I think what Laura is saying is that like the most fruitful interactions are when people are not trying to be anything. They're just being themselves. Like I think refreshingly honest. And the people who you may not get as many matches or whatever, but the matches you get are people who are like generally into the same things you were, right? So there's a better chance of something real coming from it than maybe a superficial interactions where you pretended to like things that you didn't really like. And then you get there in person and you're like, oh, we have nothing in common because I was lying or misrepresenting what I was about, I guess, right? So that'd be cool.
But that can happen in person too.
What's that?
Like, you know what I mean? Like, I had a group of guy friends one time. This was like years ago, but like, I think it was like my, like an ex-boyfriend or something's roommates. That's what it was. I was at their house and like they were getting ready. They did not like country music at all, but they were going to this country music, like a concert. And I was like, what are you guys doing? Like, why would you go to this? And they're like, because like, I mean, I'm fine with country music.
To get bitches.
I don't even go to country music concerts. Like, yeah, it was. They were like because the girls are there and they wear like boots and like Daisy Duke shorts, and they were all about this, and they were just gonna go for some girls in boots and Daisy Duke shorts. And I was like, okay, I get that. I was like, but don't you want to go and like meet girls that are into the same thing? And they were like, Laura, like I can't read something like. You think like that because you're the prey and we're the hunters. And I was like, dude, like, no.
This is one of those incidents where going all the way can lead to jail. Yeah. No.
I mean, I will say this. I think that guys are more willing to pretend to like get with a girl than maybe girls are, but I don't know if that goes both ways. But yeah,
I don't know. I think it's like 50-50. It depends on who's hotter.
I don't know.
I mean,
yeah, I feel like I definitely know some girls who've showed up in the jerseys for football.
It depends on how hot you are.
Don't
like,
watch
it depends on the power dynamic within that relationship. You know,
I've definitely seen where
power
like
dynamic.
But dating a girl do things that now all of a sudden, I've always been into rock climbing. What are you talking about? You're like, are you sure? Because you just met this guy and like he's into it, and you're like, nope, I've had the shoes forever. I don't know what you're talking about. And I'm like, okay, Chelsea.
But then also there's the other side where you might like meet someone who introduced you to something and you fall in love with that. Like there have been people who like, you know, you stop hanging out with them and you still like do this activity afterwards because you fell in love with that in the process. But then like opposite, like I don't know. It's weird.
Where like I think it comes down to like a timeline thing when all of a sudden they date someone new really quick and all of a sudden that thing they swore they were into, they drop right away, which is funny. Another Parks and Rec reference. Ann Perkins.
Oh yeah, Ann Perkins.
Yeah.
Take a cowboy outfit, and then she dated the really healthy guy. Good looking.
The guy Rob Snyder, not Rob Snyder.
For working out, and then you know,
Rob Lowe, yeah.
Yeah.
But before we continue, the Satirac. The Satirac. Oh.
Satirac was hella fun. Oh, I like country music though. So like,
yeah, we both do. It was a good time. I wish you had videos. Satirac was amazing.
I do have some.
Yeah. From that night?
I've been a couple more times than you, so I have just...
Oh, yeah, you have. But that night was crazy. I remember, like, blacking out and some white girl teaching me how to line dance. After these fuckers convinced me to get on the doctor's chair, have alcohol poured down my face, and then I got on a mechanical bull, and then somebody slipped the bull controller at 20 to throw me off like a dumbass. It was this guy, and Satiric was a good time.
I want to state for the record that he took very little convincing. Like he's making this sound like it was more of like a suggestion, and you're like, down. So just so we're clear.
Did you ever ride the bull at Big Bubba's, Eric?
No,
like
no, my confidence was not high back then, so. Nobody wanted to see an Asian kid in the bull. I
would have watched. I would have been rooting you on.
You know, I would have been all about it. Eric, I want to say, by the way, you're looking pretty slim, dude.
Oh, thank you. It's all the diet, exercise, and depression has got me pretty slim.
I heard that's the trifecta. You can get all
things. But what we're talking about something. Okay.
Actually, this was
authenticity.
But you gotta go.
Oh, I have to work super early tomorrow, but I was hella down to do this again for sure. next weekend, maybe even sooner. But I got to dip just because I'm like, I got to do some work right now. But Laura, it was super awesome meeting you. Eric, I love you. And yeah, I'll see y'all later.
Yeah, we do this has to be
Bye,
Friday.
Daniel.
Bye, Daniel.
Go.